Hello, loyal listeners. Welcome to TTP, Titan Truth Podcast, episode number 245. Today is the day. Maybe the last podcast I ever record. And look, I know I said that last week, and yeah, maybe the week before and a few other times. But look, this is the point. After 5 years of deep cover at Apex Cybernetics, I'm finally taking my shot.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
Hello and welcome to a nuclear bonus episode of the Bargain Binge podcast. I am Technological Nightmare and symbol of humanity's hubris, Dylan, and with me, as always, is...
Hello, I'm Evan, aka King of the Bargains.
And also...
Freakzilla himself, Aaron. Holla if you hear me.
I don't think they heard you.
Oh, did they? Okay, let me just.
I mean, I didn't hear any hollers.
Let me up. Holla! Holla!
Oh, wait. I heard. I think I heard some.
I think the audience has picked up on what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Today, a very special episode. It is once again a review of a movie that is new as we are talking about it, but you will be seeing it very much later.
Months later. Well,
today
fine.
we are talking about straight to HBO Max and theaters, Godzilla vs. Kong. That's right. We've been waiting a long time for this. The Monsterverse has returned for what may possibly be its final time. But will it be? I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Before we get to that, we will talk about the movies we have watched recently and tell you about them a little bit. So, Evan, I heard you say for once you actually have a movie off the top of your head. So you go ahead.
Yes, I do. Recently, I believe it was like a day or two ago, I rewatched my Blu-ray edition of Nightcrawler, Dan Gilroy's Nightcrawler, and I have to say I fucking love this movie. And the Blu-ray is a nice... I think I got it at a 7-Eleven, and it was in their sort of... It was in their sort of like bargain area. And it was probably... I think it was like below $5. It was like $3.
I think it was like $4.
It was like $3 or $4. So for a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital package, that's a very good deal.
Yeah, would you rate that as a bargain, Evan?
I would rate that as a bargain, Aaron. I'm glad you asked.
Dylan, would you rate that as a bargain?
Yeah, that's a... Sure. Why not?
Yeah,
Aaron, what about you? Oh my God! We have our first unanimous bargain.
Yeah, no.
And it's not even on a main episode, so it doesn't even count.
No, not even slightly.
So I haven't seen that since, it was the fever of Oscar season, and everyone was like, will Gyllenhaal get the Oscar? How does it hold up?
It fantastically. I honestly liked... I hadn't seen it in a couple years, and I think I enjoyed it far more than I did when I watched it then. It's just so tightly crafted and precise, and I don't know. It's crazy for me to think about Dan Gilroy's two films after this.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's grown so much as a filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
From those humble days.
I'm sorry. Why are the sisters standing and the brothers sitting?
That's gendered and sexist.
And polite.
And patronizing.
And polite.
It's just one hell of a directorial debut, and it's like, I don't know how the other two movies happened.
Critique is so limiting and emotionally draining.
But I will praise this for what it is, which is honestly a near masterpiece. Like, it reminds me, this one specifically reminds me a lot of, like, Fincher. It has a lot of those qualities where it just comes across as, like, I don't know, like everything that he wanted was put in the movie, and it's just so precise, and it just really succeeds in building a lot of tension, and everything that Lou Bloom is doing, it just escalates and gets worse until you're like, oh, this is horrifying, all these actions that he's committing.
I guess to be fair to Dan Gilroy, looking at him, I mean, based on knowledge I had on my mind and did not look up on Wikipedia, he did write Kong Skull Island,
He did. Yeah, he was one of the credited writers for that.
Stay tuned for more on that.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what it's about, it's about a low-life criminal, essentially, just a grifter, who happens upon some people filming a horrific car accident in LA, and it turns out they're filming it to be sold to news stations to use as their like coverage for the news event. And these people are called night crawlers. They drive around at night with police scanners, and they search for breaking stories like car crashes or robberies or murders, you name it. And then they film them as quickly as possible so they can get the most money. And he breaks his way into this business, and you learn throughout the film that he's willing to go to any length possible to succeed in this business.
God knows how many times we committed crimes while shooting wedding videos. I mean, I see him as an aspirational figure, really, much like Patrick Bateman or the Joker.
Well, like any true LA citizen, he's just a parasite who gets by off sucking from everyone else.
Oh, he is. Yeah, it's like in his performance is the fact that he didn't get. Did he even get nominated for this?
So Jake Gyllenhaal was not nominated.
Yeah, no, he just completely got snubbed in every sense.
Yeah, I think that was one of those full snub movies. Like every aspect of the movie got snubbed because people were, I think people were thinking like Rene Russo for supporting and like, you know, stuff for like directing and stuff. But
I remember watching an interview with him talking about this movie, and you know, they were asking him like, "Oh, how'd you get into the character of Lou Bloom? This is just such a like electrifying performance, and like, what's your secret and whatever." And he was like, "You know, honestly, like, Lou had so many lines in the script, and I didn't want to like, you know, we were on a really tight shooting schedule, and I wanted all of Dan's dialogue to come off. So what I did is I just read it as quickly as I possibly could." And so that's why he just fast talks throughout the whole movie.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure, you know, everyone kind of realized as he was doing, oh, wait, this is like really good for the character. So I thought that was really funny. That's just something that Gyllenhaal added because he wanted to make sure everything worked out with the shoot.
Yeah, he was nominated for like all the other big actor stuff. It's Golden Globe, SAG, and BAFTA. So what the fuck, Oscars?
Yeah. Normally those are huge indicators of where the Oscars go, but not with that one. I don't know if they have something against Jake Gyllenhaal. Maybe he's too weird handsome for them. But
it's not really Oscar baity. It comes across as like a passion project of Dan Gilroy's, is that he really just thought the subject was super interesting, which I do too, and he just wanted to tell the story. And
well, it's a movie about LA, which the Oscars love, but it also is a very negative portrayal of LA.
Oh yeah, dude, it portrays LA as like the most horrific place in the US.
Yeah, it's pure nightmare. Like in that, and it depicts like media as pure nightmare. So I guess that might have turned some people off.
But yeah, the fact that he didn't win is kind of insane because it's just like the performance of a lifetime, really. That sounds like a Pool quote, but you know,
the Bargain Binge, a performance of a lifetime. Bargain Binge podcast.
As you mentioned, Dylan, you know, it's always fun as filmmakers to see movies about making. Not necessarily movies, but just shooting video or making videos, which is what this is. Yeah, so if you like crime thrillers and you happen to be a fan of like Fincher, then I think this is the movie for you if you haven't seen it.
All right, sounds good. Well, my watch of the week, or every other week, whatever, it is John Landis's Innocent Blood. I ended up liking it a whole lot. It's to break it down to its.
Is John Landis like Max Lance's nephew or something? Did Max
I think so.
like bring him into the industry through nepotism?
Yes. Well, before their name was cursed. Well, not even.
No, not before at all. The helicopter thing had happened by then, I think.
Yeah. Well, from the loins of one of the more lacking in scruple families in American history came Innocent Blood, which in its most base elements is a vampire movie mixed with a gangster movie, where a sexy vampire lady is caught up in a battle with a mafia in Pittsburgh, and antics ensue, pretty much. The mob boss becomes a vampire, and it's interesting to see, like, yeah, that's probably what a gangster would do if he was a vampire. But I don't want to give too much away. The way that it's laid out and all the reveals that happen and the order in which they happen is very well done.
I'm sorry. Just as you're describing this, I just can't help but think if John Travolta in Gotti was a vampire.
I mean, that would have improved the film tenfold. If he was just biting into everybody and maybe had a General Grievous-like accent.
Mm-hmm. But lots of, as you might expect from Landis's other horror movies, there's some really great special effects in it. In a way, it kind of reminded me a lot of An American Werewolf in London, just the way that it's paced and the way the characters kind of interact and stuff. So it's just really cool. I liked it a lot. I don't want to say too much more. I started watching Coming to America, which I'd never seen. I bought it on 4K just to see what Paramount's doing with their 4Ks before the Indiana Jones stuff comes out, and I can say that the transfer's very good. I've enjoyed the movie a lot so far. Aaron, what have you watched recently?
Well, you see, while you guys were consuming pathetic low art like film, I watched 2 episodes of Baywatch for the purposes of seeing professional wrestlers in them.
Which wrestlers were they?
You see, in the first episode of the 2, I'm just gonna throw out the second one because it has way less to say. Like, so, second one just has Shawn Michaels. He plays like the bodyguard of like a mafioso type guy. Pamela Anderson's mom pisses him off and sends Shawn Michaels to go harass her.
You gotta find the disc for me, and then I want you to take care of Shelly and her daughter. Make it look like an accident. All right?
Don't worry, Mr. Blanton. I'll take care of it.
In the end, he gets like his ass kicked by like the random Baywatch character. However, if you notice, they have a second goon, and the second goon gets beaten up by David Hasselhoff, and that's very on screen. While the fight with Shawn Michaels goes for like 15 seconds on screen, is very like 50-50, and then they don't show it again for like 2 minutes, and it's already over. Which makes me feel like coked out Shawn Michaels has started beating the shit out of the actor. Because it's incredibly jarring, because he's the focus of the scene until the fight starts, and then he's gone. And but the more interesting episode of the 2, Hulk Hogan riding a jet ski with Randy Macho Man Savage.
The handshake of the madness and the mania together will formally be felt and around the world. We will make the world stand still, because this is the first public shaking of the mega powers, brother.
He wrecks it and gets horrifically fucked up, and the Baywatch have to go save him. But actually, only his jet ski gets totaled. He's fine, because he's that strong.
You're very lucky. You were hit by a ski and you could have been killed.
Darwin, I've been hit a lot harder than that in the ring.
He totaled the jet ski with his face. The plot is revealed because he brings Pamela Anderson to like this like community gym that I guess they want to push that he works out at with Macho Man. And I want to note, Hulk and Macho Man work out in full ring attire. In the scenes, their casual workout clothing is full ring attire, and they. But then Ric Flair pulls up in a limo with Kevin Sullivan and Vader, and reveals that he has purchased the community center and is going to tear it down to put like a mall or something. So Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man Savage have to beat Flair and Vader to win back the contract for the community center.
When I was a kid, you and this place saved my rear end. I had a choice. Drugs and the street life, We're getting healthy, working out, and getting my act together right here.
I have no idea what would have happened to us without this place, but it's not a pretty picture, Holster.
And that's a pretty wild story, but it contrasts with the B plot, which is about one of the main Baywatch characters getting cancer.
What's wrong? You love the beach. What's going on?
I had a biopsy this morning. Possible skin cancer.
Okay. That's awesome.
Those are the two plots.
What kind of cancer?
Skin cancer because she's on the beach too much.
Oh, well,
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But it has spread to the other parts of her body, and she's, like, in severe health danger.
Does she die?
They leave it off with her just learning from a doctor that it's spread to other parts of her body.
Oh, so it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this on Amazon?
This was on Amazon.
So it was the HD transfer.
Yes, it was the remastered HD transfer of Baywatch. The show, while it's definitely cleaned up for that transfer, looks like it was made for $5.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that they also replaced, because that show apparently was just filled with a bunch of, like, pop music, and then they had to replace it with a bunch of stock stuff for the new remaster.
One of the funny things about watching those two episodes was that the opening credits have like 17 Baywatch crew people, like, you know, like people on the Baywatch team who save lives, and like they each get their big slow motion moment. I saw none of them. It was just Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson in both episodes. And the one who got skin cancer. But
okay.
The other, like, 14 cast members were not in either episode, which makes me wonder how that show's structured. Like, is it just like, oh, these two get an episode, and then, like, these... I have no idea what the fuck Baywatch is after watching
Yeah, I've never
this.
seen it.
Yeah.
All I know is references in other movies like Borat and Geely.
I have to go with the Baywatch.
I'm sorry, what?
I have to go with the Baywatch. I was gonna go.
Oh, yes. Very important cinematic reference in Geely.
You want to watch Baywatch? Roll by my apartment. We'll turn on Baywatch.
You stupid person, you stupid person. That television, the Baywatch.
Yeah, it's a very important plot element. But now I'm just curious, what is Baywatch even about? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's about the Baywatch.
Oh. The Baywatch.
No, okay, I get, but like other than that...
Yeah, it seems to just be random adventures of the people who
random adventures
are lifeguards.
with the loose framework of the fact that they're lifeguards, and that's it.
Yeah, that appears to be what it is. But I also watched 2 gimmick episodes with wrestlers, so...
Yeah, well, they're sexy and they're on a beach. I mean, there's not too much more you can ask for, you know, a major television show.
I guess so. It's just like a lot of other major shows at least have like more of a cohesive gimmick.
Do they really? Have you watched television? It is the worst fucking medium, Evan.
Well, I watch good television.
The worst medium is poetry. But
I disagree. I think poetry has a chance to be a lot better than... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm on the fence with that one. Yeah, poetry can be pretty ass.
Yeah,
I guess there's a lot more bad poetry because literally anyone can write it.
Yeah, no, I just find it like interesting because, well, also I guess because of the ocean being a factor. At least the episodes I watched are like horrifically dubbed the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably just the whole thing then, huh?
Yeah, the Shawn Michaels episode was a lot less bad with it, but they also spent less time right next to the ocean. But the skin cancer / save the community center episode was just every line was dubbed, which was interesting because the wrestlers did a lot better of a job matching their own mouth movements than the actors did.
For some reason, that's not surprising to me.
No, I feel like it makes sense, but I can't explain it.
Well, maybe one day we'll pull Baywatch 2017 starring The Rock out of a bargain bin.
I hope fucking not.
Hopefully the same character gets skin cancer in that.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can I just say, I just typed in Baywatch movie into Google, and you know the people who ask like section where it's like a bunch of common questions that have Baywatch in it. You want to know what the first one is?
What?
Okay. It's just why is Baywatch so bad?
Dude, it's very bad. I've seen a lot of schlock TV, but it's rough.
In fact, Baywatch is so bad, it even occasionally forgets filmmaking and screenwriting 101. Example, showing little concern for continuity with some of its background performers, failing to establish character entrances in two-person conversations that suddenly turn into three-person conversations.
Speaking of not being able to explain anything, we are going to be talking now about big, giant monsters smacking against each other. But before we get to the main course, Godzilla vs. Kong, we'll cover just briefly the Monsterverse, the Warner Bros. Collection of Godzilla and Kong movies up to this point.
Yeah, starting with Godzilla from 1954.
No, Evan, those are Toho films.
I know.
Warner Brothers hit the scene in 2014 with none other than Gareth Edwards' Godzilla.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one, so I've only heard opinions about it from you two and a few other people. So
okay.
I don't got much other than it just doesn't show Godzilla very much, and it uses him as like a Spielbergian suspense tactic.
Yeah, well, Aaron said this in a text, and I think it was pretty apt, not to steal it from him, but Aaron says, when looking at the Monsterverse movies, it's hard to look at the 2014 one as if it's part of it at all, because it's so far removed.
Oh, yeah. Like, it looks drastically different.
Yeah, no, because while the other three movies all have, like, definite directorial voices, they still kind of feel like they belong together to a reasonable degree.
Like Star Wars.
Yes, like Star Wars. The Gareth Edwards movie has a completely different tone. It's stylistically different in like every way, and it doesn't feel like, the only thing that it does actually have a kaiju fight at the end. I'll say that. It's not one of the Godzilla movies where they kind of do the first one again. I mean, they kind of do, but they introduce a weird symbiotic relationship, like pair of like these two creatures called Mudos, the Mudos.
Yeah.
And they're kind of fun. I like them. They're not like the best Godzilla monsters by any means, but I thought they were fair enough.
They're like the new and improved versions of the Orga from Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Kind of like moths, which is confusing.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're like bat moth things.
Yeah,
Okay.
very insectoid. They got like spiky limbs. They're kind of fun. But yeah, it is correct that film heavily uses Godzilla for just like suspense Jaws elements and less for straight up fighting. Though I do really like a couple set pieces in it. The Halo jump, and pretty much everything from the Halo jump on is badass.
Yeah.
Even if you can't see it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, the 4K is better, but that movie is still just color graded completely dark. But what I picked up when I was watching it this time, I looked at the bonus features, and Gareth Edwards is talking about like his process for making it. And I think what holds that movie down is exactly what it talks about, which is his unyielding formalist integrity, where he insists that the camera should always be in a place that a camera could physically be.
We always try and give things a grounded perspective. Like there's a lot of shots in our movie, especially with the monsters in it, are usually from a human perspective.
I don't like putting a camera anywhere a camera can't go. So I don't like getting footage of the creatures in a way that would be impossible. So it either has to be a helicopter, handheld, someone on the ground.
And he says like he breaks it after a certain point, which, I mean, yeah, you literally fucking have to, but like, I don't know. It's such a weird idea to give him this movie as the first in this franchise, because he's so specific and everything that it just kind of set the bar in a very weird place, because Monsters is the same kind of thing, but the reason that it's shot like that in Monsters is for budgetary reasons. But he treats Godzilla as if like he doesn't have the money to show him in that, and it's just weird.
Right,
Yeah.
but he does.
Well, yeah, Gareth Edwards is a weird special effects guy who decided to make an independent movie with a monster in it, like entirely with his like basement, and I respect that, but I also kind of think Monster sucks.
Yes.
But
so does Rogue One.
Yeah.
Godzilla's his best one in my mind, and it's still mid.
Yeah, it's mid tier.
Right.
It peaks well at the end, but
yes,
and like there's some good creative choices with how some things work, and like I think the formalism works in a couple sequences. Like I think the Halo jump, like when it kind of feels like there's like GoPros on their helmets and like that kind of like interiority. That's cool. That whole sequence is beautifully sound designed. Like I love the way it works where if you can't see something, it does not produce noise. And it's, you turn your head and then there's Godzilla, and now there is Godzilla audio. It's how like old westerns work, and like older movies tend to do that more. But I enjoy that kind of formalism. But overall in the movie, it does hold it down. It actually does like kind of harsh the vibe of the movie in the middle sections especially.
Yeah, it has its place, but it's really not like there's no reason to be so strict about it, man.
No.
You're making a Hollywood movie that's trying to make money. It's not a very smart idea. So it's really weird to me that Warner Brothers was like, yeah, Gareth Edwards.
Well, yeah, and then they immediately did a 180. And the directors after that film leaned heavily into the just absurd monster mashes that you see in a lot of the Toho ones, the later Toho ones.
And that's what you would expect, so that's why it's so weird that Gareth Edwards did it. But before we move on to those, just for each one of these, I want to note the human element, because they are, they're the part that people really fucking
get hung up on.
They grind on the human parts a lot. And with this movie, I completely fucking understand, because Aaron Taylor Johnson's character has the right place, right time syndrome to a degree that I cannot even comprehend.
Yes. He's also kind of a character void.
Yes, he doesn't have any traits, and it's just he is at every single event that would carry this through for no reason, because he has no connection to Monarch, which are the people in charge of the monsters in the universe. But it's like his entire journey crosses multiple country lines, just multiple borders, and he's all over the world, right place, right time. It just, the human element in that movie just fucking sucks.
Oh, yeah. No, the only character in it that has, like, things is Bryan Cranston's, and he's in, like, 3 scenes.
Yeah, not very good.
That was, like, marketed to make it seem like he was, like, a main character in a lot of the movie.
Yeah, off of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And then he just...
he's just barely in it, because his character has like a personal connection to the whole thing, because like his wife died, and there's like an emotional element with him, and Bryan Cranston's a good actor, and so he can kind of carry it.
Yeah.
But he just kind of drops out. He's just done, and then it's all Aaron Taylor Johnson being kind of flat for the whole rest of the movie.
Isn't Elizabeth Olsen in that too?
Yeah, they're married.
Yeah, she also sucks in it.
Yeah, she does.
They're terrible in that movie.
They're so flat.
That shit's really bad. But moving on from that, up next is Kong Skull Island, directed by John Voight. It's one of those two.
What's one of them?
Hi, my name is Jordan Vogt Roberts. I'm the director of Skull Island.
John Voight.
Guess what? You're wrong.
Kong Skull Island.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's rad.
Yes.
Some people, I saw some negative criticism about the fact that it like creates like a weird fake 70s aesthetic that is like how we make like of not just 70s but of Vietnam aesthetics, in the same way that we make like 80s weirdo aesthetics.
For me, one of the first things with this movie was like choppers and napalm and the apocalypse now of it all mixed with King Kong. And
but I think that adds so much to it. Like, I think that looks amazing.
I kind of like that a lot. Like, it's weird, make no mistake, but I don't know. It's just something genuine about it.
It's so interesting. I mean, like, why not do that with fucking Vietnam movies? There's too many, and they're too self-serious. So why not take that idea and go a completely different direction with it? That is an interesting concept that paid off in spades.
Okay.
It's
gorgeous.
It plays, yes. Roberts really likes anime and manga, so very specifically composed imagery in it and action.
Everything in that helicopter sequence is like meticulous. It's like the most storyboarded thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, like that shot that I think is on one of the posters where he's Kong silhouetted by the setting sun and the helicopters are flying like over next to him.
This is the shot. Like, this is the shot that seared in my brain when the Apocalypse Now and 70s of it all came up, and just him silhouetted by that sun was one of the first pieces. It was the first piece of concept art ever made.
Yeah, it's Kong. He's on an island. It completely avoids retreading the story from, the original King Kong, which is greatly appreciated, not necessary.
Well,
He has his own thing. He's doing his own stuff. He fights monsters on an island.
Oh, yeah, here's the thing. Like, I know how you mentioned people get hung up a lot with the human characters, and I think that is stupid because you don't go into a monster movie expecting to, like, knock out human plot that's amazing, 10 out of 10. You go to watch the monsters fight each other. However, with this film, the characters are great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, like they all have clear motivations, and they all get a thing.
And there's so many of them.
Yeah,
they're all super distinct.
Yeah, exactly. Samuel Jackson, his character has this. He's so hung up on the fact that we didn't win the war, and that he just can't let that die, and he kind of like, I guess, imposes that idea onto Kong, and so he has to kill him.
Yeah.
He has to get this win for himself.
Yeah, Kong is a symbol of defeat, of American defeat to him.
Yeah, so, I mean, that just justifies the Vietnam references and everything. It's thematically ties in. Because Sam Jackson, he's like a captain of some sort of crew in Vietnam, and they're like ready to get on the ship to go home.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't have to do this, but we need someone to escort this team of scientists to this uncharted island. And he's like, oh, I think I'm going to do that, yeah.
Yeah. No, the film takes place primarily in like the day or two after Nixon declared the end of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and that's such a turbulent, crazy time, and like just a really interesting backdrop for this.
Yeah, it's cool. All the characters are good. The monster fights are also very good. So, very strong entry in the Monsterverse.
It has one of the only, like, weird... I never even want to talk about stuff like this, but it has, like, such a weird, like, inconsistency moment where Mustache Man spends 5 minutes describing that there's a big storm around Skull Island.
As our satellites show, the island is surrounded by a perpetual storm system, allowing it to remain hidden from the outside world. But with Colonel Packard's helicopter transport, we will be the first to break through to the other side.
And then he sees the big storm and goes, what the fuck? A big storm?
This storm looks a lot nastier in person. I appreciate your passion, Randa, but as field supervisor of the controlling agency, I say we abort. That's it, we're gonna abort.
I get caught up in that every time I watch it. I can't help.
Yeah, it's just so weird. But it doesn't matter. It's a completely irrelevant thing. It's just every single time I watch the movie, I notice it. But yeah, it's just besides.
I have to look for that next time. I don't quite remember.
Yeah, it's just a little thing, but like it's a very well put together, extremely well put together, well written movie. I'm sad that John Vogt Roberts,
Jordan Vogt Roberts,
is going to be hung up in video game movie development hell for the next 20 years.
He's made the awful mistake of aiming for his passions, which happen to be video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
He'll never make a movie again.
Metal Gear Solid movie will never come out. And if it does, it'll be a horrible disaster, and he'll have wasted all the time he could have been making other films.
Yep, as is tradition.
At least we got Skull Island, because it's great.
Yeah. Another thing that also came out is King of the Monsters, directed by Michael Dougherty.
I think Kong Skull Island, just on a shot-to-shot basis, is like unbelievably well put together. But King of the Monsters has these like visual moments of just like these highlights that are like unbelievable.
Oh my god, dude! Like I said this comment to Aaron, and like it's gonna sound like I'm being ironic, but like I swear some frames in this movie look like a Renaissance painting. Like
yeah, it's very painterly.
Yeah, I just say that because it's like, oh my, there's so many layers of lighting and there's so many like color themes, and it's just like there's so much going on within the frame. Like, you know, whether that's you know, we're gonna talk about it. It's contrary to popular belief, the snow and rain assets that they put in there do not detract from the film, and actually add a little thing called atmosphere and tone. And I don't know if people were watching this without their glasses or what, but it doesn't. You can see what's going on.
No, every single critic, like with no exception, even people we like and respect, every single person coming out of that movie swears to God that you cannot see the monster fights because there is rain and smoke.
Yeah,
pretty much every monster fight is marred by snow or rain and shaky cam, and it's all like murky and hard to follow.
But it's
not
like
true.
You're lying. That is a lie.
A lot of the time they're obscured on purpose, like they're in silhouette or something, but that's for a reason.
Yeah, but you can still make out their entire action through their silhouette, even in those moments.
Yeah, and I would also argue that in addition to adding atmosphere to the scene, it also covers the CGI and probably just makes it look generally better.
And
to
a degree.
We'll talk about this in a little bit with Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong. But one thing that King of the Monsters does a lot better than that film is there's a sense of like majesty to the monsters. There's this like they feel so grand.
This is where we set up that Ghidorah hides himself within storms. That he himself can control the atmosphere around us.
Yeah. But it was important for us to show that these aren't just giant monsters, that these are actual gods that will affect the environment directly or indirectly just by existing in it.
Oh yeah, that movie really nails the scale.
And part of that is that, I mean, it's a big part of the old Toho movies too, is you have to show the characters' reactions. And that was another complaint a lot of people had, was like...
In King of the Monsters, they're cutting to Vera Farmiga and the early edition guy and all their boring shit nobody cares about.
That gets way too bogged down in that.
It cuts to the people too much, and it's like, that is just fucking bullshit too, because the whole thing, those human characters, the whole point for all of these movies is the human characters deliver you the plot, and they get you to the beats where the monsters are, which is where what you come for. So it's important to tie them through the entire thing. So their reactions are important because, you know, they're the actual main characters. So I like, it uses a lot more than the other ones, maybe. Definitely more than Godzilla vs. Kong.
That one for sure.
But it's not excessive.
Well, yeah, the other thing is that it tells a cohesive narrative. Another thing that's contrary to popular belief, a lot of people were throwing around the word incoherent for this, like the human narrative.
It's so straightforward.
The stuff is so basic. It's just
so... Like, what did you not understand? It's just dumb.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
There are ecological fucking terrorists who want to bring out all the monsters, in particular King Ghidorah, Monster Zero, to reset Earth and, like, fuck up humanity because we've fucked everything. And the main character's wife is in league with them, and then she takes their daughter with her, and then he has to go after them.
If they were able to heal their family drama, this whole story doesn't happen.
Yeah, we kept calling it Kramer versus Godzilla. It's like the worst divorced movie in the world.
And then that's it. That is literally the story.
The three characters are just there to symbolize the conflict of humanity in a more broad sense, but in the movie, between Monarch and the eco-terrorist led by Charles Dance, who delivers an excellent performance.
He's great.
Charles Dance.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Game of Thrones guy, but he kills it in that show, and he kills it in everything else. He's a great actor.
Yeah, it's just all around. I mean, you and I, Aaron, we have seen a lot of Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
I know I've seen all of them. Have you?
Yes. I've seen all of them. A lot of them not since I watched them on VHS tapes when I was like 6, but I've seen all of them at one point or another.
Yeah. And this movie is very clearly made by a fan of those movies. It has a lot of, and it's not super fan servicey. I don't want to make it sound like that. It's not like a Marvel movie or anything, but it is very much dedicated to those films.
It's goofy and it leans into the absurdity. Like, as you see when they have a giant flying aircraft command center that tracks Godzilla. That's like straight out of one of those earlier movies.
Yeah, that's most pure Heisei, or how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, I don't know the...
Yeah, the 80s to 90s Godzilla films, and to also an extent the Millennium ones, are filled with fucking anti-Godzilla or pro-Godzilla, depending on the movie, battle carriers and shit, which this movie's also stuffed with.
Yeah, it's and just a lot of the visual references. Another complaint that people have about the monster action in the movie is that there's too many close-ups, and that I've heard this said the old movies are all shot in wides, and it's like, no, they fucking aren't. No. Godzilla vs. Biollante, which is one of the best movies of the whole franchise, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, all the monster fights in that are primarily through close-ups, and that makes it stand out as one of the better movies of its era, is because it's so visually just distinct.
Yeah,
right. Oh, and while this does use close-ups, it also has plenty of wide shots.
Yes,
it's even in the trailer. There's that shot at the very end when Godzilla and Ghidorah are having their final fight, and it's a super wide showing the whole destroyed cityscape, and they're running at each other,
and then it smashes in onto them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
that shot's so cool.
No, it's awesome.
Oh my god, this. From a visual standpoint, this movie is just absolutely gorgeous. Like the scene when they're in the submarine underwater and they're looking for Godzilla, and he starts approaching them, and the whole sea they have this giant glass viewing platform, and it's just completely dark, and then it's just these pulsating blue bursts of light because he's radioactive, and that's the light he's giving off, and so it just blinks and then it goes dark and then it blinks. It's, oh my god. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, no, there's great stuff with that. They made Mothra bioluminescent in this film, and it looks amazing.
And now in the old movies, the larva would change her eye color depending on her mood. So her eyes would go red if she was upset and blue when she was calm. So in this case, we brought in the concept of making her bioluminescent.
Also, on a fan level, when I watched this in theaters, I will say that I spent the entire film until somewhere in the middle going, are they going to say that King Ghidorah's a stupid fucking alien? And then they do.
And it factors into the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah, no, because the entire film is about the fact that humanity is an ecological disaster, and climate change, all that stuff, and that the Titans are from a earlier age, and if they, fuck the Earth up, we will return to it. And, they talk about stuff that we've actually seen with, the coronavirus and stuff, where when people aren't out and about as much and stuff starts growing back, the air improves, things like that. They discuss that, and it's one of the main, plot points of the movie, and that King Ghidorah, Godzilla is an apex predator, but King Ghidorah is an invasive species. He's this horrific thing that doesn't belong in our environment and is trying to change it to suit him.
He's trying to challenge Godzilla for his throne, because Godzilla is, as the title suggests, the king of the monsters.
He's the true king. Ghidorah's a false king.
Yeah.
Coming from Planet X or whatever, he's He's trying to fuck shit up and take over.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like if you don't look at just that like sweeping wide of Washington D.C. underwater as like military aircrafts are shooting like tracer rounds into the air and then King Ghidorah's in a giant hurricane and there's lightning going. Like if you don't look at that and go that's cool, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like I think you went in with the wrong expectations.
Yeah, I also like how the film is able to it gives Godzilla a pretty good amount of time, and he gets to underdog against Ghidorah. He kind of fucks up the Mutos in the first movie, and he's also booked very strong in versus Kong. But Ghidorah's this like impossible fucking threat. And humanity fucked him up too. And then they realize that damages their environment to remove this thing that fucks with them, because it allows for worse things to fuck with them. Which also ties into like the very simple but understandable theming about the environment that people claim the film does not have.
We'll talk about critical reactions to all of them after we get to the main segment here. So let's just get right into it. We are 1 week out from Godzilla vs. Kong.
Episode recorded April 7th, 2021.
So we've had some time to think about it. We all three just watched it on HBO Max. So didn't get the full theater experience, unfortunately, but...
Are we doing the big spoils?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Full spoilers.
Yeah, take it away, Italian robot.
Warning, spoilers ahead for Godzilla vs. Kong.
Thanks.
Thanks, Italian robot.
Thanks, Pasquale.
Love you. So I think a good starting place for this movie, just to talk about it, while we're not talking about it, the plot directly, is the first scene, where we're introduced to Kong. He's on the island just chilling.
Scratches his ass.
Yeah, it's exactly the opening scene of Shrek for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
That was all I could think of the first time I saw it, and I saw some memes supporting that. But it's just the opening scene really speaks to what an asset Adam Wingard is to this movie, because it's so visually sound, and it immediately makes you sympathize with Kong. You understand his relationship with the little girl character, who's one of the main human characters. I think the opening scene is one of the strongest moments in the movie.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I really like about this, and would actually like more from some of the other movies, is that they do just... They paint Kong as the protagonist. He is the main character. Like the people and stuff guide the story, because of course they fucking do. How would they not? But...
people just want grunt. I'm like, Michael Dougherty has said he wants to do like a sort of Tartarovsky's like Primal, but with monsters, and that's an interesting method. I think people are going to fucking hate that, though.
Yep. Yeah, they will.
Probably.
They will. But yeah, I like that he's positioned as the fucking protagonist. Yes. Kong is the main character. The people guide him, move the story, and all that stuff. But he does the big actions, and Godzilla, at least for most of the film, is the antagonist. He creates the threat. He has his own thoughts, and he comes into scenes under his own volition, and it's not all human guided. It's cool. I mean, the same. King Ghidorah, does whatever the fuck he wants in King of the Monsters also. But I like how directed around them it is.
King Ghidorah is a Chad.
He's the biggest Chad there is.
Oh, he's my favorite kaiju. The King of the Monsters Ghidorah is great. I have in my hands the shards of my King Ghidorah fidget spinner, where each notch, like each thing on the end is a head, but it's exploded because it's cheap 3D printed garbage. But speaking to the dynamic between King Kong and Godzilla, what else would you do? I mean, any other thing would be a mistake, because obviously Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla's gonna win every fucking time.
Yeah. I've talked about this. Godzilla's character in all media is that he is the most powerful motherfucker around. You have to cheat and use weird alien bullshit and magic to fuck with him. And he beats everybody in the end. While King Kong's character is that he fights some dinosaurs and then gets killed by airplanes. So
yeah, steals a woman.
Steals a woman.
And Kong is always, from the beginning, he's the more sympathetic character because what does he do in the first movie? He's captured and exploited by humanity, and his only course of action is to just go buck wild. Yeah. So he's super sympathetic. Godzilla can play the good guy and the bad guy, as evidenced by all previous Godzilla movies. So this was the only way they could have done it. But I'm still happy that they did it, because it feels like it still could have been fucked up somehow.
Oh yeah, no, it's the only way that makes sense. But I feel like there was a large chance that they would just position it wrong. Like, well, either they would make it so that they barely actually fight, and there's very little actual antagonism between them, or like they would try to switch the perspectives just because Godzilla's, popular. I mean, Kong is too, but like it's so easy just to fuck it up. But no, they position Kong as an underdog baby face, a hero to the people, and it's good because he has the more expressive face and backstory.
Yes.
Well, I find it funny to think about people who went into this thinking there was actually going to be like a definitive. I mean, because Godzilla beats Kong's ass. However, I still wouldn't say there's a definitive winner.
No,
you know what I mean?
Because they have two fights, pretty much, and well, it's like 2.5, and Godzilla wins 1.5, and Kong wins 1. So they try to make it even to a degree, but there has never been a franchise versus franchise movie that has had a completely definitive winner. Yeah. That's not how that works.
Yeah,
this is the most definitive it can be, because Godzilla, at least, even though there's some bullshit in the way and all that, Godzilla fucking rips Kong's shoulder out of his fucking socket and cuts his fucking chest open and stomps on him and makes him yield.
Yeah, and he has to be defibrillated by the humans, and I guess we should talk about the humans now. So basically, the characters that bring us through this, they break down into two different groups, and funnily enough, they can be called Team Kong and Team Godzilla, which were big parts of the marketing. Yeah. So that's kind of clever. But so on the Kong side, aka the main characters, because they're following the protagonist and moving him along. So they're led by I forgot everyone's names. There's Alexander Skarsgård,
yes,
who plays a disgraced scientist whose brother died researching Hollow Earth.
Yes, he wrote a book about Hollow Earth, and so they put him in like the basement of the college he works at or whatever. And his brother fucking died trying to investigate the Hollow Earth. And then there is woman
Rebecca Hall.
Yes, Rebecca Hall is the surrogate mother of a child who can communicate with Kong, who's a native of Skull Island.
Yeah, a child.
The last of her kind.
A child native.
Because they were all wiped out by a storm?
Yeah, they make it sound like the storm that surrounded Skull Island ended up overwhelming the island and killing everyone on it.
Right.
That's so fun. That's so sad, and it immediately contradicts the Kong Skull Island, because I feel like that movie does such a good job, because the portrayal of natives in the earlier Kong movies is very cruel.
Yeah.
So they did this very good job of portraying them as nice humans that are, just normal people. Mm-hmm. So it's sad to see that they're all dead.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it leads to this, because I really like the girl and Rebecca Hall's relationship, because they're the core main characters, even though Alexander Skarsgård is top billed for some fucking reason, probably sexism.
Yeah.
But
and he's also like barely a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's just there to say cringe-ass Marvel dialogue.
Well, the problem with him is that he's introduced as this dork college professor, but like in bitch coward. But then every other scene, he's like wearing like military garb and carrying like a gun. And it's like, what?
Yeah, and then he just blends into the rest of the military people, and it's like,
Yeah, like, I mean, I haven't seen
you
this
character
much
anymore.
Yeah, I haven't seen this as much as you have, Dylan. But like, I don't think there's an explanation for why he could just hold a gat like that. But
No, I think. Well, he was in Monarch, and that's just vaguely said that he's part of Monarch, so he's kind of in on the monster action. So that's just the very weak explanation.
But he never does anything with it. So like, I wish he was just more of a normal human, like who didn't do that stuff. Because I think I'd like him
he had
more.
traits.
Yeah.
They give him the backstory, and then that's it, and that's all we get pretty much. And then he just coasts throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it comes down to the fact that a lot of the plotting with the humans is really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This is probably some of the weaker human stuff besides the 2014 one out of the Monsterverse.
I was going to say that. And specifically for me, it was Team Godzilla that was actually kind of excruciating every time they were on screen. I'm not going to lie.
Millie Bobby Brown, Taika Waititi's son, as they call him, whatever the hell his real name is, the kid from Hunt for the
Wilder People.
Julian Dennison.
Or as I called him when I watched the movie, Fat Deadpool 2 Kid.
Oh yeah, Deadpool 2 Kid. And because I like that other, what's his name? What's the conspiracy theorist guy?
Brian Tyree Henry.
I feel like I've seen him in things I liked him, but he's
in Joker, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, he's in Child's Play.
Oh yeah.
He's really great in Child's Play. I like him a lot in that.
And it's not to disparage his acting. I think it just the script had very poor humor. Like very.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Is it one or two? Because if it's two, it's probably from these apples. Hey, you want to use the hand sanitizer that I made?
This whole half of the human element of the movie, the Team Godzilla stuff with these three characters, is the whole movie has some of this kind of stuff going on, but primarily these characters, it is so Marvelized with the way that they talk.
That's Robo Godzilla.
No, that's Mecha Godzilla.
And the jokes that are going to be, that are already irrelevant because this movie was supposed to come out like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I completely checked out and stopped paying attention every single time they were on screen.
Did you know people used to eat Tide Pods?
Yeah, there's a Tide Pod line that like, oh my...
Hey, you sell bleach?
This isn't one of those internet challenge things. Because when I saw those kids, those detergent pods, I didn't know they were going to eat them. I'm still dealing with the lawsuits from that.
Most of my reactions when watching it, when I would say something out loud, because I just watched it with my wife, most of my vocal reactions were positive, like, oh shit, monster action. Mm-hmm. But all the other ones were, oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
To all the dialogue in this.
No, and it's good that the fights are all really awesome and fun to watch and creative. However, specifically Team Godzilla dragged it down for me, and it's not to say, it doesn't make it bad. It would have been nice if they were at least serviceable, because the other team was like, again, while they didn't have that much in terms of characterization, they were serviceable.
Yeah, mom and daughter could at least make you feel something. And Alexander
Skarsgård,
she was
cute.
It's cute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Alexander Skarsgård, while nothing, is not obnoxious.
Yeah. If anything, you just forget he's there. It's not like it doesn't detract.
But the thing about them is that they are the vessel that carries to probably my favorite part of the movie, which is the monster villain, with the humans is represented by an Elon Musk stand-in character.
Oh yeah,
which
did they travel using the weird tube thing Elon Musk says he wants to install in America? It's like the actual thing.
Oh, that must have been he must.
Well,
Wingard didn't write it, I don't think.
The character is 100% Elon Musk, and I saw some people complaining about this, but I I never really get tired of the evil billionaire thing because it's a very real life thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate seeing Elon Musk as a villain in a movie who just gets completely destroyed by Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, that stuff is the closest the movie has to like coherent theming,
tying back to the other movies.
Yes, yeah, because with that stuff, with the villain and spoilers, Godzilla, he's in there, and all that stuff. They all that stuff kind of ties in to the ecology stuff from King of the Monsters, because they a man-made creation to dominate the environment, and it works pretty well, and it's the most evil thing.
Oh yeah,
I like it a lot. So yeah, this billionaire, he is not happy about the fact that the monsters, the Titans as they're called in this universe, are reclaiming their spot on the food chain. And very on the nose, he runs a company called Apex because he wants to make humans the Apex Predators again. So he does this by somehow getting Ghidorah's skull, which Charles Dance saved in King of the Monsters, and much like the, I believe the Heisei Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, he uses bones to create. It's really stupid.
Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla 2K Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla 1993.
I really appreciate that weirdo reference. The skull of King Ghidorah, which works as the mega computer.
They hardwired its DNA, self-generating neural pathways capable of intuitive learning.
Okay, I'm smart, but I only go to high school.
It's a living supercomputer.
Yeah, which has like 50 multicolored neon tubes running out of it. The lighting in this movie is like the guests on steroids. Which I liked a lot. I thought it was cool. And that's just a very specific Adam Wingard thing.
Adam Wingard went really nutty with the aesthetics of this movie because, I mean, you've seen in the trailers and in the movie, like the monster fight it's in Hong Kong.
It takes place at night, and there's a bunch of neon on the buildings, and it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, so it's like the brightest night scene you could possibly have.
Well, yeah, they must have compensated because people complained about how you can't see what's going on in the previous film. Yeah, no, it's very cool. But
even the human stuff, like when they're just sitting in like a ship or something, like the lights inside of there will be neon. But and the villain guy, his like headquarters, where he overlooks Mechagodzilla, is like the most just over the top sci-fi set design I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
it's so bright.
Speaking of sci-fi, this movie has a lot of sci-fi elements.
It's the most sci-fi this franchise has just about ever been. There's a couple pretty extreme cases besides this one, but it's incredibly sci-fi.
It reminded me of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah from the 90s.
This one has like time travel in it.
Yes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And they have a ship that time travels that looks a lot like the ship that they use in this to go into Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
It's not quite time travel, but it's damn near close. They I guess you could call it that. They go through wormholes and then they're transported to the center of the Earth. They take a journey to the center of the Earth, if you will.
They become children, much like at the end of Space Odyssey, like exact shots and everything, but like with even more maximalist editing.
The thing that's so funny about that is they like go through like a wormhole and like the gravity inverts, like all this crazy shit happens, and then in one of the better stupid scenes in the fucking movie, Godzilla just shoots his fucking atomic breath and burrows all the way down, and Kong just climbs up the hole.
It's so cool. It doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome.
Amazing. No. I loved it.
It's stupid as hell, but I popped for that.
I guess we could just talk about the monster stuff, because that leads us into the final battle, because the whole thing, the humans want to find the source of power that's in Hollow Earth. I don't remember. It doesn't matter fucking
some
why.
Kind of crystal. I don't know.
They do something with it.
They take Kong down there, and they find it, whatever, but Godzilla's like, oh shit, he's getting the power because he finds like his ancestral axe down there that he then brings into the battle up on the surface in Hong Kong. The monster fights, awesome.
Yeah. Loved it.
Really cool.
As I said earlier, this film does not have any of the painting-like grandeur of King of the Monsters, but it just settles it for straight up pro wrestling fucking beat down shit.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, the choreography was, like you said, it doesn't have quite as much of like the scale, the grand scale of King of the Monsters, but in terms of like the actual choreography, it's just a load of fun.
It's two monsters smacking against each other, and the shots are super dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a bunch of fun interactivity with the environment that's cool. There's the Hong Kong scene, they're just all over the buildings and shit. And there's the barge scene on the ocean where Kong is like leapfrogging between ships over the water.
Really cool set pieces. There's a lot of, slightly unrelated, there's a lot of weird references to sort of random movies that aren't related to the Godzilla franchise that I picked up on. These may or may not be intentional or not, but like for instance, during that barge scene, Godzilla becomes attached, like he gets caught on like a half of one of the aircraft carriers, and then it's floating above the surface, and then he is, he's tied to it, so he drags it under. And then it's like, oh, that's your indicator of where he is. And if you see it pop back up, it's like, oh, he's there. And that's straight out of Jaws.
Yeah, the Jaws buoy thing. Including the fact that it's like, oh shit, he can pull all of that underwater, like when Jaws pulls all those buoys
it shows
down.
how strong he is. And it gives you sort of a visual cue of like, okay, there he is, because he's, you can't see him under the water. So I was like, okay, that's fun.
Yeah, that scene is built entirely off of the tension that like, Godzilla's amphibious. He's got gills. He can be underwater as long as possible. But Kong is just a monkey, so he can't like stay underwater. So the whole fight is he's got to stay above in the air if he's gonna have any sort of chance, and the tension of that is really fun.
Yeah, and possibly inaccurately. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes taught me that apes are too structurally bone dense to swim properly, which I have no idea if that's true, but I hung on to that fact from a flop 2000 movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, he struggles in the water, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a super fun sequence, and Kong ends up having to be bailed out by the human characters who shoot.
What do they do again?
Yeah,
they just
like
shoot
depth charges or something, like something down there to get Godzilla the fuck off of Kong, and then they have to all play dead because Godzilla's got a little lizard brain.
Yeah.
So what are the other references you were thinking of?
Another one in the end sequence. It's actually what shuts down Mechagodzilla. It's established throughout the film that the conspiracy theorist guy who's the leader of Team Godzilla carries around this flask full of some type of alcohol. I don't know, whiskey, whatever it is.
That's Customer single malt whiskey. It was a gift from my Sarah. She was my wife. She passed on. I'll tell you something, the day that this goes empty, that's the day you know I've given up.
And as like a stupid joke at the end, they don't know how to turn off Mechagodzilla because they're in the control room and Team Godzilla's trying to figure out how to shut him down. And Deadpool 2 kid just grabs his flask and pours it out all over the control board, and then it shuts him down. And I thought that was straight out of The Thing.
Checkmate. Checkmate.
Cheating bitch. I mean, maybe that's not like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen that a million times.
That one I'm less sure of, but
that's a stretch.
The Godzilla,
I'd be willing to. I'm not positive, but I'd be willing to bet that Wingard was thinking, or not. Again, I keep saying like he wrote it, but I don't think he wrote it.
I'm positive the earlier scene's a Jaws thing. Like I'm positive of that.
Oh, that's definitely it's got to be
right,
intentionally or not. But I mean, it's possible.
I don't know. It's not. I would be interested to know if that was actually a reference to that, because it's you know.
Speaking of The Thing, the violence in this movie was interesting. Mechagodzilla, like I said earlier, is my favorite part, and a huge part of it is the way that he's introduced, where the trio of Team Godzilla people, they end up being very contrivedly, they're inside of a pit where Mechagodzilla is being tested, and a skull crawler, which is the antagonist of Kong Skull Island.
Skull crawlers. What's Apex doing with skull crawlers?
Is released into this pit with Mechagodzilla, and Mechagodzilla fires up. And just as the protagonists are about to be like chewed up by the skull crawler, Mechagodzilla grabs it and just shoots a laser straight through its fucking brain.
Yeah.
And then just bisects it all the way down, and the laser illuminates through the skull crawler so you can see all of its guts and
guts
bones.
And well,
that was so
wild.
disgusting.
That was interesting because the movie has less mean-spirited human death than the other two. Because like King of the
more mean-spirited monster deaths.
Yeah, more mean-spirited monster violence. Because like just as a 1-to-1, in King of the Monsters, a guy is in a jet and he ejects and he flies directly into a fucking monster mouth and dies.
That's a primal fear for any human being, is to be eaten.
Yeah.
You know, that goes back to our like ancestral DNA.
And for them, it's not for nourishment. It's just a defense. It's just a defense.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a snack.
That's so funny.
Well, in this film, he presumably lives? ?
Oh yeah, but even he's in like a full tailspin, so he should have been caught up in turbulence. But it seems that he survives.
Yeah. Just there's the human violence is less extreme in this on average than some parts of King of the Monsters, and when Kong eats that guy and stuff. But the monster violence is pretty hardcore.
So you mentioned the human violence versus the monster violence. It's not played for laughs and it's not played as close up, but I think the final battle in Hong Kong suffers from what I think is the time and place in which this movie is made, because both of the monsters are just tearing down buildings, and the movie wants you to fucking know absolutely certainly that there are people in all of these buildings and they are all dying horrific deaths.
Yeah, no, it shows it, but I feel like it didn't emphasize it that much. Like,
dude, there are so many cutaways of like a monster is like 50 feet away and people were running screaming, which implies that no one has been able to leave this in any period of time.
I think King of the Monsters does that even more so.
I don't know. Boston feels really empty to me in that.
Okay, Boston does, but that scene in Mexico is like, oh my god, all those people are dead.
Yeah, but that is being portrayed, that is being done by Rodan. It's not Godzilla and Kong, or because they're two good guys and they're still killing everyone.
I see what your point is. Yeah.
In the old movies, what I think of when I think of the fights with the monsters is if someone is being portrayed as a bad monster, they will have a scene where they destroy part of a city. But if Godzilla is fighting a monster, it will generally be in the middle of nowhere between mountains where no one but the military is getting hurt, or in the ocean. So, this depiction...
No, that is weird.
Yeah.
It's like every movie past the very first one from 1954 or whatever is he's now the hero, pretty much, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Except every single reboot, the first one in the like new series, he's always the bad guy, and some other ones in the Millennium.
Because they're trying to like emulate the
they always reset him. And they always reset him to make him a nuclear monster man, and then go back to hero to all children or whatever, Godzilla, and and like he's a high whatever. The Japanese is not my language that I was Heisei. See, I got really used to say like Heisei when I was a child, and
It's all about that he say, she say bullshit.
Yes. And yeah, in those movies you get a good amount of city battles, but it's normally bad monsters show up, start messing things up, everybody fucking bails. It explicitly bails, and then
you
Godzilla
see the
shows
insides
up.
of buildings, and there's no one inside of them, like, ever.
Yeah.
There's, like, maybe
the
there's
main
the
characters of
one
the movie.
homeless guy in 1984
Yeah.
who's, like, there for a joke. But everyone has left because Japan is on top of their shit.
Yes, by the time Godzilla shows up to whoop the thing's ass, everyone has cleared the fuck out, besides maybe the protagonists, who for some plot reason are, like, trapped in a building.
Yeah, so it was really weird to see that.
It is actually very similar to the Fenway Park stuff in King of the Monsters now that I think...
Yeah.
That movie is those movies, like, beat for beat, but American.
Yeah.
It's
rad.
which is why... But some people don't seem to, like, realize that and just say that it sucks. I was like, have you seen a Godzilla movie? I don't pretend to be an expert. I know you guys... You know, Dylan, as you said, you've seen literally all of them, but I've seen enough to, like, understand what's going on.
Yeah, and that's what makes this movie so interesting, because, like, while all the other Monsterverse movies are made by Americans, I feel like this is the American Godzilla movie. This is this is what we've been waiting for, because it embraces all of the stupidity of America. And it has no fucking shame, because Japan wants you to know that all those people survived because, you know, there's real huge tragedies in their country that they want to, you know, not make you get too sad. But in America, we're always the fucking winners. So we don't even think twice when all those Hong Kong residents are just getting squashed like grapes in a wine vat or whatever. And it's just it's interesting to see this interpretation of these characters. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it was really unsettling to me because I watched this when I was super high. So I was like, oh, all those people are dying, man.
It approaches like Michael Bay nihilism in certain parts.
Yes. That was my biggest takeaway, I think, is that Adam Wingard, given all of the freedom, he wants to make Michael Bay movies.
But maybe good.
I mean, you know, depends. But
he's not made all bad movies.
I mean, he's made some of the worst films I've ever seen, but there's good things in there.
Yeah. And it's like he's bringing his own sensibilities as like a super indie, low budget filmmaker to that, which is really interesting because it's like, you know, the lighting, you have all those neon lights that's like straight out of The Guest. You have the hyper violence, which is, you know, I would assume that he sort of got the hang of when he did You're Next. So it's like there's very specific things you can pinpoint and track that go right back to his like previous movies.
Yeah, Adam Wingard is to independent horror as Michael Bay is to 90s music videos.
Yeah.
They're so similar in their approach to these big movies. It's just these big things smacking against each other, and there's just a crater. Just their styles are different, and I found that super interesting.
There was just some straight nihilistic, like, weird shit in there, and especially with Mechagodzilla, and I will say I absolutely adore the Toho ass plot point that Mechagodzilla's brain is King Ghidorah's brain, and that because King Ghidorah is out for fucking revenge in the climax. He tries to shoot a laser down Godzilla's throat because that's what Godzilla did to him, and he's fucking pissed. I like how humanized it. Like, they never say any of that, but his actions are so like bitterly angry, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, Mechagodzilla is a real highlight because I really like his design because he's so weird looking because it's very clearly you can see the visual ties to this version of Godzilla, but like the proportions are all fucked up in a really interesting way.
Yeah. Yeah, normally he is like a 1-to-1, but with like square edges.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of made him like a fucked up husk thing, and I did like it.
It's cool.
It is nice to see that Ghidorah's personality carried over from film to film, because as you see in King of the Monsters, all three of the heads like have distinct traits, like, you know, he's attacking someone and one of them's just screwing around and like not paying attention, and then he like bites him. It's like, hey man, stop it.
And the last head was the aggressive one. That's the one that Charles Dance got his hands on too.
Yeah, and now he's, as Aaron just explained, now he wants revenge, and it's like, no, that is super subtle and definitely something that not many people picked up on unless you're like crazy into this kind of stuff.
Well, it helps that Michael Dougherty has a writing credit.
Yes.
The continuity between the movies, like, that's obviously a benefit in this instance, but I feel like this is the movie that I became a little bit embarrassed because I was like, oh, these are my Marvel movies.
Yeah. If you were, I wish we could have watched this in the same room, Dylan, but I was popping off so hard for like specific references and like dumb things. And when Godzilla shoots his laser at that axe, and I was just freaking the fuck out.
So cool.
And it, which I also did in a more lower key way because I was in a movie theater for King of the Monsters, but exactly. It's like I'm popping up for references and shit. But the thing that's interesting about it, at least from my perspective, is that I'm a big fucking comic loser. So like I don't pop off for that stuff in Marvel movies. I like cringe my ass off when they're like, Zendaya goes by her nickname MJ.
Well, yeah, because those are so, like, they look in the camera and tell you the thing. But these movies, like,
it's a little more
the
subtle.
references, it's subtle. If you see it, you can appreciate it, but like that's just gonna fly over people's heads, and that's no problem.
Like when in King of the Monsters, where that I don't remember her name. She's not that important of a character, but when that one girl on the G-Force team, Monarch team, she who is really into like studying Mothra, and then she shows pictures of her parents and stuff, and like every generation they're twins, like the Mothra twins from every Toho thing with Mothra.
It's nice. It's little things, but the thing that was like really marvelly to me was the unveiling of the lore in the Hollow Earth and the axe element. It just felt like, oh, it's because Thor has an axe. Did you feel that?
Not particular. Like, I see what you're saying. I guess
like, structurally those
doesn't
do fulfill the exact same element in the movie, because Thor goes off and has his own weird adventure in a weird place, and then gets the axe to beat the bad guy, and he hits him with it, and it doesn't actually defeat him for real, and then the exact same thing happens with King Kong going to a weird place to get his axe, and then hit Godzilla. It doesn't beat him for real. It's interesting.
But it's not like the axe in this has like zero explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sitting there.
There's not, I guess there isn't the weight put onto it where everything's super important, like in the Marvel.
It's not like a bad, like I didn't mind that. The axe was a cool weapon for him to use. There was some fun, like, little set piece
the faux Whedon
elements
dialogue did hurt me sometimes.
Yeah, the absolute worst one, I think, in my opinion, like even worse than the shitty quips, is after the first part of the fight in Hong Kong. Alexander Skarsgård looks at the collapsed body of Godzilla and King Kong standing over him, and rubble is all over the place. Millions already dead, and he looks over to Rebecca Hall and he says,
"Looks like round 2 goes to Kong."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was so bad.
Yeah, it also feels weird for his character. Like I mean, I guess because he doesn't have one, but it's just.
Yeah, what is his character?
Yeah,
Please tell
that's
me.
a good question. It just feels weird that he's so like passive about it. Where he's like, oh, looks like Kong is fucking doing shit now. Like,
yeah, that's the characters in this are very Marvel-y for one reason or another, whether it's that they're quippy or that they have no relatable human traits, which is a big Marvel tendency.
Or they're just a husk. A walking husk.
Yeah, no, because I was actually talking about this with Evan when we were watching. We watched the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy, and I was talking about it because, you know, we on this very podcast, if you haven't listened to the episode, watch the Hellboy 2019 episode. Go
check out right now. Click the Hellboy episode, please.
Please.
Please
Five-star rate it. But in that film, he is given like no understandable human traits, like, and then immediately
other than just being like vaguely pissed off, and yelling at his dad. But
then in Hellboy, the Guillermo del Toro film, he has like a couple interests. He is in love with a woman, and he like can't be with her and stuff. And it's like, you know, relatable human stuff that's been a part of stories forever. And it Marvel movies just seem to like lack entirely sometimes, just like relatable humanity to the characters.
Yeah, and it's bleeding into other stuff just by osmosis, not necessarily intentionally either.
No, everyone's just a quip machine who like does the plot points.
Yeah, I think that's just a plague on blockbuster movies now in general across the board.
Yeah,
because of Marvel, and it's like, I don't know. At least with the MonsterVerse films, I can see with my own eyes the distinct touches of each director.
Yeah,
that's at a certain point with Marvel movies, it just becomes like, did a machine make this, or is this like an algorithm? And obviously, it's not all of them. That's not what I'm saying, but
it's a lot of them.
And a lot of this, I mean, it's just specifically this movie. This is, like I said, this is like the first instance where I like started feeling that hopefully, if these movies are to continue, and hopefully they do, that won't be a continuing factor.
I mean, it seems like it might. This movie more or less saved theaters
movies
after the pandemic.
Yep.
Well,
yeah. I mean,
it's funny. I saw a review from someone I follow on Letterboxd. It was like, this movie has what Christopher Nolan wants. It can say that it saved theaters. Yeah, and it's like, lol, that's funny. Tenet flopped.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that this looks like it's going to make around 500 million worldwide, which would be a mediocre to weak number in any other context, but it played on HBO Max same day, and the stats are showing that this has got the biggest amount of watches and added subscribers of any HBO Max original. Like, I think it got like...
Oh, that's money, man.
I think it doubled Wonder Woman in the Snyder Cut.
Holy shit.
So it should be the continuance of the franchise, because, like, in case you don't follow this stuff, audience, King of the Monsters did not good.
No.
Yeah, it didn't do well financially or critically.
Yeah, and that's where it became worrisome that these movies were just going to fucking die. And then the pandemic happened, and this movie got delayed repeatedly, and then the box office predictions for it before release were, like, pathetic. And but then
it crushed it.
Yeah, it crushed it. It has dominated every other American release that's come out during this era by like a huge margin.
Yeah, it's awesome. But so just to wrap this up, because that was a nice little positive note. Let's bring it down a notch, because we're talking about how popular this is, how everyone's watching it. Just wanted to throw a little spotlight onto the audience and critical reaction to all of the Monsterverse movies, because it is some of the most baffling shit ever.
It's like people just make things up Like they invent problems.
Let me just run through the timeline here. 2014, there's not enough Godzilla.
Right.
The next Godzilla movie, there's too much Godzilla. And not enough character stuff, which is just insane to me because the character stuff in King of the Monsters is like...
Well, I heard both.
You can follow
I feel like people also said that they hated the character stuff and there was too much of it.
Yeah, that one's inconsistent because 50% of the reviews are like, why are there still people in this? And the other half are like, why did it just be monster fight whole time?
It's just this conflicting thing. It's just... humans, monsters, blah, blah, blah. They speak, it's these black and white terms that is so damaging as a way to look at a movie, you know? It's so much more about the interaction of those two elements, and if they each have their own benefits to the story and everything, but it seems that a lot of people's criticisms boil down to screen time between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, honestly, with the King of the Monsters stuff, I feel like it used to be that there's too many monsters, but now that this movie is out, people are talking that there's too much human stuff in that movie.
Yeah.
So stuff is changing.
Yeah.
Over time, it's morphing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And morphing to its opposites. It's going between extremes at a rapid pace, like I've never seen before.
Well, yeah, no, now this one, people are either positively or negatively being like, oh, it's all monster, except for like two people who are like, oh, there's only a little bit of monster in the first 30 minutes. It's like, yeah.
That's how every monster movie ever has.
Yeah, if you've watched anything in your life, but everybody else, it seems to just be like either positively or negatively on this one is like, oh, the movie is all monster fight, like
and that's not even true.
No,
it's not true.
But like
it's a lot of
the amount of monster fight in. I believe the average for all Godzilla movies prior to American movies, 10 to 15 minutes of Godzilla screen time.
Yeah.
And this has about like 20.
It could be more.
I watched through all of the fights scenes before I got to this, and I was able to do that within about 25 minutes. So we'll say 25 minutes of screen time for monsters.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's
that's appropriate. It's a quarter of the movie, you know, that's...
Well, almost everything, you know, and it's not like it's just people talking in rooms. Outside of that, it's like, oh, here's set pieces and Hollow Earth and weird sci-fi tech and,
yeah,
you know, the movie has a lot of stuff. And yeah, I never felt wanting for monster content in it at all. I mean, the only one of this franchise I've really felt wanting was the Gareth Edwards movie.
Like you said, Evan, people just lie and say some things, you know? Like, the King of the Monsters thing is like, I can't see anything. It's like, did you try to see anything?
Have you gotten your eyes checked? Do you need contact lenses? Maybe glasses? Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't have any trouble seeing what's happening in that movie. Like, I've seen so many other things that were much darker. And if you know,
like 2014's Godzilla,
I haven't seen that, but yeah, from what you guys are saying, that one's color graded extremely. It's just very dark.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like people just invent reasons to be butthurt about the movie when it's like, why can't you just turn your brain off and enjoy some absurd monster fights?
One of the most obnoxious things about it is that people will make up criticisms or say weird shit that doesn't make any fucking sense or implies they've never seen a movie before. And then if you're like, oh, that's like inaccurate, they're like, oh, it's just a stupid monster movie, bro. Fucking
they want it both ways.
Yeah, it has to fill everything they want from it exactly in terms of just second by second character screen time, but then also just a stupid movie, bro.
You can't win because I mean it's the opposite side of Marvel movies because, you know, say like you said, Evan, just turn your brain off, and I think that's completely fair for certain movies, but like
I'm not trying to say
that's a common
I'm not
that's just a common defense of Marvel movies when a lot of those movies are just dog shit and there's no excuse for those. But these legitimately, it's like They hit everything that you could possibly want out of this genre. And if you know anything about the genre, just have seen like one movie. I don't know.
I haven't seen a lot, man. But I
Does it matter what other people think if you enjoy the movie? No, not really. But you're constantly surrounded by it. There's no way to completely remove yourself from it. That's asinine.
You can't just tune
This
it
is just
out.
the most frustrated I've ever been about it, just because it's like, I feel like it's affecting the movies going forward.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, it put
It
King
did.
of the Monsters.
It clearly did. Yeah.
It put the whole series on life support.
Yeah.
Like they were going to be like, this is the last movie, but now that this is making money, it might be okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's main thing with the Edwards movie is that there wasn't enough monster, and then they put a lot of monster, and then it was just, there's too much monster.
And then, and King of the Monsters is like, I can't see anything. And then they overcorrected, where this movie has nothing in front of the monsters.
At any time.
Yeah. And so you see just all CG.
Oh, it's weird.
The CG rendering in this movie is kind of noticeably the worst out of all of them, because it's lacking the atmosphere that is in King of the Monsters and to a lesser degree,
I think
Kong Skull Island.
Sort of mentioned that, where it's like those snow and rain and smoke assets help to sort of mask the CGI and make it, or at least make it blend more into the environment.
They're so smooth in this movie. I mean, it's like the Avengers movies. They're just so smooth. And it doesn't look terrible, but it's like a lot more noticeable as a result of the negative opinions. So it's just been a constant debilitating thing in these movies, is that they are a slave to these people that don't seem to know what they want.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're never happy.
No, yeah.
It doesn't matter what they get. They will always give it a thumbs down.
The same people that are like, every Marvel movie's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, this is 90% Rotten Tomatoes, fresh, certified fresh.
Yes, the critics are right. I think that they're just happy that movies are back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And it's like, critics, while they can be, of course, overlap on the Venn diagram with internet contrarians, contrarians are not the same group of people. Like, people on Letterboxd are way worse about this stuff than film critics. Like, yes, there was a weird, everybody lost their minds about King of the Monsters in a negative way, but...
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, except general audiences who liked it fine. But, by all normal metrics, liked it pretty well, but the thing is, the reception to it, because of online discourse and all that stuff, became pretty negative, and it caused it to drop week to week pretty hard in the box office until it just kind of died. Well, this there's a system, an organization that they poll people. That movie's called Cinema Score. And the Cinema Score for Kong and Godzilla King of the Monsters were both B+, which is pretty good. But the Cinema Score for this is A. General audiences are eating this shit the fuck up. They loved what this was offering. And the thing is, it's probably my least favorite of the three.
Yeah, I agree with that, because there's a lot, like, the Marvelization and all the weird stuff is, like, they're all detriments. I still really like the movie. Yeah. So that just makes every single, contrarian David Ehrlich review just even more obnoxious this time around, because it's like, not only are you being obnoxious, you're going against the grain, and everyone else seems to be enjoying it. I don't know. This is just all kind of speaks to the modern way of how we interact with the movies that are put out. And I mean, that's part of Scorsese's whole cinema being devalued thing.
It's almost like Letterboxd has adopted a toxic Tumblr-esque environment.
Maybe you should stay tuned for an upcoming bonus episode where we just talk about this kind of shit for a while.
Yeah. And how it's actually somehow gotten worse.
It doesn't promote constructive discourse.
Yeah.
And instead is just an eyesore.
On that note, this has been another successful bonus episode of the Bargain Binge podcast. And while we may have left you in a pit of despair with that end segment there, we promise you
Don't look at Letterboxd reviews.
Yes. Don't look at Letterboxd reviews. That's our positive end to the episode.
The positive thing we can go on here is that people really liked this movie. It's performing well, and it should lead to a continuation of this universe by Warner Bros. Legendary and all the rest.
And I will be there opening night every single time. I can guarantee you that. IMAX, a whole 9 yards.
Fuck yes.
Well, that's the end of the episode, folks. You can find us on all your favorite podcatchers at bargainbingepod.com. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Or whatever you use. 5-star us anywhere. Send an email that says 5 stars to me. In the mail. Make an email, print it off, put it in an envelope, and send it to me.
Well, we don't have a P.O. box yet.
Yeah, at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
That's where you send all your hate mail.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you don't like the show or disagree with any of our takes, send it right there. And know that our receptionist's name is Joe Biden, so make sure it's labeled with that.
But if you have any nice things to say to us, send them our way at bargainbingepod@gmail.com. We have stickers. Nice little stickers to sell to you. So, PayPal, bargainbingepod@gmail.com with your address, $5, and I will mail you a sticker of the podcast art that you can show all of your friends, and they will think you are so cool because you listen to movie podcasts.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Dylan is married. Dylan is married. I have a girlfriend. Evan gets tons of chicks on Tinder. We are full Chads, and you'll get a part of that energy if you buy a sticker for an internet movie podcast. Everyone will sense that energy, that alpha dog Godzilla energy.
That's $5 to BARGAINBINGE pod@gmail.com. Yeah. Thank you. Other than that, it seems that it's time to say goodbye to G-fans everywhere. I have been Dylan.
I've been Aaron.
Until next time, I've been Evan.
Yeah, you have been Evan. You've been fucking up the show for too fucking long.
Aaron, I swear to God, if you want me to leave, I'll leave.
Okay, no, you know what? I'll fucking leave. They don't give a fucking.
Well, we're all leaving right now, actually.
Oh God, we're bumping into each other in the door frame.
Oh shit! I'm stuck. I believe Michael Dougherty said that Rodent's his favorite kaiju.
That's insane because he sucks.